I love rally. And apparently, so do you guys. So much so that when I asked my Discord to build Group B rally cars, you guys really pulled through. But now, it's time to fulfill my end of the agreement and actually rank these things. Before we dive into the video, I need to actually explain what the rules were. I gave my Discord 3 weeks to build a Group B rally car. That means the car must be from the years 1982 to 1986, and they had to adhere to the regulations of Group B, which in short means their maximum tire width and minimum weight are dependent on their engine's displacement. But I decided to keep the rest of the rules as vague as possible, so any body style, engine architecture, and design is permitted. After a lot of thought and deliberation, what better way to actually rank them than a tier list? I get that a tier list is the most internet slop way of doing this, but it accomplishes the same goal as any other ranking system I could come up with, and they get a lot of views. But this tier list will be modified, so that the F tier will be limited to cars that didn't meet the requirements and thus would not have qualified for Group B. Also, I'm going to do my best to limit the S tier to only my favorite 3 builds. So I apologize in advance if your car does not make it.
The Porsche engineers knew exactly what their objective was: to make the new 911 GT2 RS the most powerful Porsche for the road.
Our first submission comes from I Play Game on Discord, and according to the submission description, Italian manufacturer Viverna decided to tackle the art of rally for the upcoming Group B regulations. It did so by modifying and homologating its flagship supercar. To turn that supercar into a rally car, they ripped out the original American V8 for an Italian 3-liter flat plank crank V8 and installed a state-of-the-art all-wheel drive system. Now, I don't have much of a game plan for reviewing these things. Let's just start by making sure it can actually qualify for a rally. There's a few things we need to look at to make sure this car can actually qualify for Group B. In terms of fixtures, we got to make sure there are 2 seats side by side, which there are, and a roll cage. And that's pretty much it. Okay, for the fixtures at least. For the other rules, since this car is in the 3-liter class, the maximum tire width is about 11 inches, or translated to millimeters is about 279 and some change. So at 275s front and rear, this car is just under the maximum. And the final rule is a minimum weight of about 960 kilograms, or translated to pounds is about 2,116 pounds. And so the car is just above the minimum weight, its tires are just below the maximum limit, and it's got all the fixtures that we need to see. And taking a look at the design a little bit, part of what goes into, my ranking, so to say, is the craftsmanship of these kinds of builds. And considering this car has 762 fixtures, I think it's safe to say just off that number that this car is good. But there are a lot of little things that you'd miss if you don't really take a look around at this car. Like little custom strakes here to cool the engine, the hanging mud flaps that you see on some of those old Lancias, and then the interior is just insane. Obviously, the custom roll cage, it's great to see the pads with the zip ties and everything. I love the custom harnesses that actually wrap under the seat, go all the way back, and then connect into the harness on both sides to make sure that they actually function as a harness. The colored gauge dials, and then just all the work with the livery, making sure that the colors actually line up with all the fixtures on the inside and the banner on here, and that it actually uses the colors of the Italian flag. I think this is a really impressive car. I love the way it's put together. I love looking at it. And having looked around at the engine a little bit, this thing is absolutely maxed out. Billet steel, forged everything, 9,000 RPM redline, all the best bits and pieces. 6-speed manual, vehicle LSD, all the quality slide errors have been set to max on this thing. You can assume this car is quick. I think there's nothing else to do than just get out on a rally stage and see what this thing can do. Well, the SS Backroad stage is the one that I told my Discord to set their cars up for, so that's what we're going to be competing for here. But in this case, I'm going to give myself 3 hot laps. Basically, 3 attempts to try and get the best time I can. It's not only going to be a measure of performance, but also just how easy these cars are to drive, how intuitive they are, how well set up they are. Because if I can't figure it out in 3 laps, then that's all we get. Let's go ahead and see how this thing drives. Oh yeah, as soon as the front gets like unstable, it really likes to, I don't want to say fishtail, but it's really hard to get control of it again. Oh, coming in hot. Oh wow, this thing stops immediately. I did notice that for the 1986 like time frame, the technology available in automation, this thing has everything. Vented brakes, 4 calipers, 15 on the sliders. Wow. The fact that this thing still drives is insane. Hey, you know what? It's still this might be the only chance we get at getting a time, so I'm gonna ride it through. Am I missing a front wheel? It really feels like I'm missing a front wheel here. I was missing a front wheel. There we go. Don't cut this time. Okay, don't run into the barrier. Or the tree. Oh my god, it's all going wrong. It's all going wrong. Still have my wheels though. Oh my god. Something's definitely broken though. Oh yeah, that's what's broken. I almost didn't have all my wheels. Alright, not to baby it, but I need to get through this stage, so this might hurt my time a little bit. Oh, come on, enough with these things. God, oh my god, oh my god. It's playing defense. Why is it playing defense on me? Get out of the way. Oh, wow. Can I still do it? Yeah, if this says anything about how that lap went, you guys get the gist. Okay, real quick, I'm not going to hold this lap time over the performance of this car, because its creator was able to get a sub 3-minute time. It's just not it's not the easiest thing to drive. It doesn't handle that well over bumps in the way that, like, as soon as the front end gets upset, it's really hard to gain control over it again. And it's just so quick that, you know, you head into these corners really fast, and if, you know, the terrain is rough, you don't have a lot of grip going into that corner, and it's very easy to end up in the side of a tree, as you guys could probably see, and as you guys could probably tell from the last couple attempts. So, I guess we'll find ourselves over to the tier list for now. Alright, ignore the fact that my list here gets scrambled every time I open this. But just going off the fact that I absolutely love the design of this car. I think the craftsmanship and just the time put into the automation build is incredible and deserves to be recognized. And it is capable of a great time on that stage. It's just difficult to extract. And, you know, there are real-life rally cars where that is the case. And so I'm not going to hold it against the car or the build too much. And I think this is just a really safe one to put into S tier early. Obviously, if something better comes along, we'll move it down, but for now, I think that's where it belongs. Next up is a submission from Time TS07, Timmets07. You know, you guys can decipher that one. And the car is called the Saniro Zr-4 SRT. And according to the description, what was once a budget city car was handed over to tuning partner SRT and transformed into a lightweight rally car, pushing a power-to-weight ratio of 0.61, using kgs, of course. All right, now moving into automation to look at the Saniro. I will say overall, I do really like the design of this car. Something about just rallying like a little tiny, economy car is something that intrigues me quite a lot. I do love that concept. I think the livery turned out really great. And if you really dive into it, there are a lot of small details that are, show a lot of craftsmanship. Like just the name on the intercooler is a nice little touch. I think the molding here with a lot of these like wide body, the aero pieces is done really well. And even like hinges on the vent here above the engine make it look like this is a car that's worked on. Rally cars get serviced quite often. And I think it's really good. The interior looks great. But if you do continue to, dive into things, there's a couple things you notice. For one, the roll cage here kind of sticks through the window, which I'm not going to, be too upset about that. A lot of these, mod fixtures and stuff are difficult to work with, and there's only so many options you can choose from other than, creating your own roll cage, which takes forever and a lot of fixtures. So I can't be too mad about that. It's also got a little floating name here. Not sure what happened there. Maybe it had to do with, downloading this car into my game. Something got upset there. Can't say. And there's also a severe lack of windshield wipers, which, in a rally car, that could be seen as a pretty big deal. But overall, it's a great car. It's just missing a few pieces here and there. But now let's, figure out if this thing can actually race. For one, we did see it has a roll cage. Got the 2 seats. Got all the safety stuff. Looks pretty good in here. And moving into the engine, we can see this car has a compound turbo setup, which is pretty neat. But it's also got a capacity of just over 2.1 liters, which if you take 2.1 liters and multiply that by a factor of 1.4, accounting for the forced induction, that would put it in the 3-liter class, which again, as we just looked at, means the maximum tire size is just over 275. So in terms of tires, it's good. And so looking at the minimum weight, it's got to come in at least 960 kilograms, which, if you remember, was about 2,116 pounds. And so as you can see, this car is just a little bit short. It was set up at 894 kilograms, which is just above the minimum weight for the 2.5 liter class. So unfortunately, this car would either need to switch engines or put on some weight somewhere. But as it is under the minimum weight, unfortunately, this car would not qualify to race in Group B. I still do want to give it, its honorary rating, so I'm still going to take it into Beam and see how it drives. But just a little spoiler, it does not qualify. Yo, are you guys seeing this? How does that even happen? Alright, so we have a steering wheel, but it doesn't move. It's fine. Okay, very short gearing. Very apparent. It's also very stiff. Does not handle the dirt sections all that well. Does accelerate pretty good though. Oh yeah, very, very difficult to control on the power. Oh my god, what is that? What in the world was that? I think some of the fixtures are like dragging below the car. And it's lagging my game. Oh yeah, something is definitely dragging below this car. You hit a bump poorly and it like just launches the rear end. I hate driving this slow, but you just really gotta be careful with this thing. Oh my god, yep. Not an easy car to drive in the slightest. Oh yeah, the bumps immediately just throw this car off balance. It also does not land very well. Springs and dampers are very stiff. Alright, stiff suspension does not like to head into this fast. Something I've learned the hard way. Oh my god, yeah. The rebound is not great. Oh my god. Car does not like it in the slightest. Okay, I think by this point you guys are realizing I'm a terrible driver. But I did have to baby this thing a lot. I think there's some kind of fixture clipping that's kind of sitting under the car, and so, on a large bump or on uneven surfaces, it kind of really upsets the balance of it. It just kind of sends you off whichever way it wants you to go. And so, there's a little bit of an issue with the build there. Alright, honestly, for the Saniro, given the build quality, the design, the way it drives, I do really like the car, and I think, you know, had it qualified for Group B, I think it's a great contender for a high B, but ultimately, it does not meet the minimum weight requirement, so it will be our first entry to does not qualify. Moving on to Witty Otter 11D7's Minolto.
Jinchou.
Its design stems from a Toyota AE86, with the addition of a reverse-engineered A1 Quattro, where it handily borrows its all-wheel drive system. Okay, first thing I'm just going to get out of the way is, I don't know how this is meant to be pronounced. Minolto. You know, I'm just going to let the American accent prevail here. But looking at the design of this, I feel like the philosophy here was to be, like, obnoxiously aggressive. Like, looking at this, it's supposed to look like a punch in the face. And I get that. If that's what you're going for, I like it. I see the vision, you know, the canards here, the double wing. Very aggressive design behind this car. But part of it just doesn't seem like it's all the way done. You know, there's a little bit missing in the interior here. And there are some stylistic choices that I'm not sure I understand fully. Like, generally, this is supposed to be a vent here. Or the, you know, venting's here and the air comes through, but you know, it's just a style piece. You know, with this little canard section here, it looks cool, but the little floating fender is a little interesting. And the McDonald's livery is certainly a choice, I will say. And then also, it's got this vent back here, which you'd expect to find on like a mid-engine build, but it just kind of vents into the cabin, even though we already have a vent up here. So definitely some questions are being raised about the design here. And again, no wiper. No windshield, actually. Is there... There's no windows. Oh. Okay. Yeah, so a little unfinished. I remember reading in the description that this is meant to be, like, built out of a garage. So I guess, you know, that vision prevails a little bit. But now on to some of the important bits. Making sure this car can actually race. For one, immediately no cage. You know, it's got the seats, but the safety equipment is lacking. But even, you know, saying we throw a cage in there, let's just look at all the other things. This car has a just shy of 1.8 liter 4-cylinder, and it is turbocharged. So going off the displacement, this car fits in the 2.5 liter class, which would mean the minimum weight is actually perfect. Translated to kilograms, this is like 890.4. It's like 0.4 over the minimum weight, which is great. But then again, we come back to tires, and they are 10, or actually like 6 millimeters too wide. So it's tires don't fit, and it's not got a cage. So we got another car that doesn't qualify, which already is kind of shocking to me. I thought it was going to be hard to fill out that category. But again, I still want to give it an honorary rating, so we'll find this thing in beam. Alright, seat's a little low, and steering wheel does not move, but now it's fine. Wow, it's also dead silent. I didn't actually check if there were mufflers on this thing, but it seems like there are. It's also going to be another really stiff rally car. That's something to get used to. I will say at least the engine is set up pretty well. I believe it made like 450 horsepower, and the gearing is pretty good. Say that as I'm absolutely babying it. I will say it makes all of its power in the top end, though. So, fortunately, the gearing's good. If not, this thing would not be the fastest car in the world. It's got to be really aggressive on the throttle here. Still stiff. A lot of collisions going on in the background. A lot of collisions going on right there. Yeah, it does feel like a lot of the time put into this build was put into the actual engineering of it, which I respect. Just leaves a little bit to be desired from this angle. Yeah, it must be just because there's no windows in this thing, but the road noise is insanely loud. Maybe it's because the car's so quiet I can actually hear everything else. Yeah, this actually is really bumpy. Yep, there it is. Oh, I just clipped something. Oh, Jesus. Car figured out. It seems to be a saga of really stiffly set up rally cars. I did give them this exact stage to like practice on when setting them up. So, you know, there's no excuse to have set it up for a tarmac stage. Yeah, I mean, this thing's honestly really fun to drive. I actually get along with it so well. Okay, once again, braking early here. Because it just throws you in the air, so you get no grip, so you can't brake, so you can't slow down. That's a rough section there. Not a lot of these cars have been able to handle it well. Oh yeah, fastest time so far. Honestly, like the engineering of this car is set up really well. The engine is great. It's really stiff on the dirt again. It's seems to be set up for a road course. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, another car that would not qualify for Group B. All right, yes, back to the tier list. Honestly, again, I really like the way this car drove. I think the performance is really impressive on it. But I think the craftsmanship and just the level of detail in the interior and some of the components around the car leaves a lot to be desired. So ultimately, I think it would be somewhere in the low B to high C area, somewhere between these two. But again, tires are too big, no cage, does not qualify. Alright, I want to get at least half these cars done in this video, so we're going to be speeding things up. Next submission comes from Corvette, and according to his description, Foresight Automobili's chief designer got into a little bit too much wine and modified their tame Maestrale to an all-wheel drive rally car, making a, quote, devilish 666 horsepower. Alright, for the sake of saving time, I checked. This car is in the 3-liter class, and it does meet all the regulations, so it can compete in Group B. But looking at the design, I honestly didn't really love it at first. I'm not sure what it is, whether it's the shape or the livery, but I can't say I care that much for it. I'm looking at like the splitter up here. I'm worried about the durability on that. The rear here, there is a lot, and I mean a lot of vertical strakes. It's honestly kind of difficult to look at. But, you know, I'm sure to each their own. Some people probably really like the design of this car. And, you know, I'm sure it'll grow on me a little bit. But when you start looking into the nitty-gritty, you know, the small details. First of all, we have a little safety switch here, cutoff switch. I like that. And then you start coming into the interior here. And connected to the roll cage, you got a strut bar. I actually just noticed the plexiglass little panels here for the venting and stuff is really cool. And then as soon as you notice all this piping here from the turbos into the intercoolers, and you got like custom turbo fixtures and a battery, like, yeah, the fixtures back here and the design and the craftsmanship is really cool. And I can tell a lot of time has been spent back here. And even in the interior, you know, the driver ergonomics leave a little bit to be desired, but cramped Group B car, what can you really expect? I will say I do really love the custom gauge cluster here, but it does make these little gauges just kind of tacked onto the side here look a little bland. There's very much a discrepancy in the quality there. So I will say I actually really like the interior design and all the craftsmanship put into the car. And so that does make up quite a bit for the design of it. Okay, you know what? I'll admit I was a hater. From this POV, the ergonomics don't look too bad. And the modeled gauges are a nice touch, I will admit. God, how am I R8? Oh my god. That's a bad look. Oh, wow. Okay, we're skipping that section. Wow. Oh my god, it actually started turning over throttle. I honestly think this thing makes too much power for its own good. Oh my god, and then as soon as it starts fishtailing, you cannot get control over it. It's just gone. See, it makes, oh my, that wasn't even, the car just like lost itself. I didn't even give it any inputs. Oh my god, recover. As soon as you fishtail it, you can't get it back. I think this might be our first DNF. I don't know, guys. It's fast. I'm not good enough to control it. Its limits are beyond mine. Back to our trusty tier list. Now with the Maestrale, even though I don't really care for the design, I can tell that it is, you know, pretty good quality. A lot of effort was put into the way this car looks, and I'm sure a lot of people would really like it. So I'm not going to hold that against it. I do think a lot of effort was put into the fixtures and the little details around the car. And even though I couldn't tame it, the performance of this thing is really good. It makes a crazy amount of power for the size of the engine, and it feels like it was the first car that's properly tuned for a, dirt stage. It's really hard to say that it's properly tuned, considering how much effort it takes to actually keep control of the car. But again, with enough practice in the right hands, it can get probably insane lap times. And so for that reason, I think this car definitely deserves an A. Depending on what comes up next, it may move up to S, but we will see. Coming from Matilda Wolfius on Discord, we have the Mercure-Delta Komodo. A mid-engine coupe built with a tubular frame and lightweight construction, the Komodo may not be the fastest car around each stage, but it'll have the crowd cheering nonetheless. Alright, before we dive into the design, since this is a new layout for the engine, we've got a 924cc Boxer 4 that is actually twin-charged. Because of that, it would compete in the 1.3 liter class, which means the wheels have a maximum diameter of 215, which is perfect, and the car has a minimum weight of exactly 1,488 pounds. I don't remember what is in kilograms, it's about 675 or something. But another car that is exactly at the minimum weight. So like if one bolt falls off, it's going to be under on weight. But looking into the design, immediately I'm a huge fan of this kind of build. I believe the creators said that the livery is inspired by Art of Rally. If you guys are familiar with that game, I'm very much a fan of it. But also just the detail in this build is extensive. For one, the clamshells here is just a really cool touch that you haven't seen on any other build so far. Also, this whole rear piece being a clamshell is ridiculous, but I love it. Under the hood, we've got an intercooler because it's mid-engine, and a spare tire. Again, something you don't need to do because you're never going to see under here, but it's just such a cool little touch. In back here, we have a little roof scoop here that feeds into tubing that leads into the airbox for the engine, plus some intercoolers back here for, I presume, the twin charge setup, the turbo and the supercharger. In the interior, we got custom colors here on the dials. We got all these little panels in different colors. A custom panel for these gauges. Ultimately, I'm just a big fan of this car. And oh no. I don't know if this is a translation or something. But we gotta flip these two letters real quick. That hurts it a little bit. Looks like we got the Indonesian flag here. Monaco. Okay, I know it's not Poland. I feel like that red is too dark to be Indonesia. Maybe we got a Monacan. Yeah, I don't know what that would be. Anyways, really excited to drive this thing because it seems like a lot of the emphasis of this car is put into the handling from what I read from the little description, and so I really want to see this thing on the stage. I will say the modeled shifter is a nice touch. Oh my god, the supercharger is loud. It may not seem like it by how sporadic I'm driving, but this car actually handles, rough terrain really well. It seems to be the, best setup car I've driven so far. Gotta remember, right-hand drive. Don't cut that. Yeah, it might be a little early to say this on my first lap, but I am a big fan of this car. It drives incredibly. Yeah, that section's still rough, but still, car handles it pretty well. Yeah, that section. Oh my god, you know what? Kept control over it, and that's what matters. Yeah, and this car is pretty quick. It doesn't make that much power, but it just weighs nothing. Comes to a stop pretty well, not as fast as some of the other cars. Still handles really great. The section's usually impossible in other cars, but I'm seemingly in control over most of this. Yeah, this car is incredible. It's pretty rare I get a clean lap on my first try, but this car just does that. Alright, 333 on my first try. There is another car I've driven that was faster, but this car is obviously in a much smaller class. The 1.3 liter class makes like 170 something horsepower, but it's just so easy to keep control of it. It's so like stable and predictable, and I absolutely love the way this car drives. I think a lot of cars have just focused on going a full on power, but they haven't been set up very well for the actual stage and the actual handling, so you can't make use of all that power. But this car can, and I'm in love with it. All right, look, you guys have heard enough of my justification. This car is easily an S tier, and honestly, just because of how much I love driving it, I think I'd put it first in S tier. All right, next in line is, oh god, give me a chance. Okay, I just gotta channel my inner German. Like, oh yeah, I'm German. I drive a Volkswagen and an Österreichische Motorwerk. Anyways, that's the car. That's the car brand. And I know it's Austrian. Whatever. All right, starting off with the engine, we got another new, engine size class with a 2.85 liter turbocharged engine that would have it competing in the 4 liter class. Also, ginormous turbo. And so it is allowed to have wheels up to like 300 millimeters ish, so we're pretty far undersized compared to that. And weight, it's a solid 60 pounds over the minimum, right? I believe it's 1,100 kilograms, so about 24, 25 pounds, something like that. So we're looking pretty good there. In terms of design, the first thing that sticks out to me is I don't know if the livery is inspired by the Austrian flag or not, because it's meant to be an Austrian company. That would be a pretty cool touch if that's the case. Got a huge grille here on the back, made it up to a nice intercooler for the engine and this, again, massive turbo. The interior is red. Oh my god. You know, it's got everything you need, nothing you don't. It's got the cage, got the seats, wheel, pedals, shifter, all that. But while poking around, I did notice right under here, we've got a radio. I don't know if this is like from the homologation spec, never got taken out, or if this is just meant to be a cool little Easter egg, but you can never be too careful when looking around these builds. For the record, this is the first car I had to go back and actually put a camera into. I figured while I was there, I'd make the steering wheel work as well. It's very difficult to put the power down in this thing. Gotta be very gentle. Oh, wow, it's soft. I feel like the only way this car makes sense is if Austria is like Germany's redneck cousin, because this car is anything but precise. Very floaty, very difficult to power down. I feel like I'm just not in control of it at all. Oh my, yeah. It just does not want to put the power down at all. Oh my god, it just does not want to control itself. Figure it out. Oh my god. Alright, I'm gonna try and push it a little bit here, see if it can actually handle itself. Oh my god. This is terrifying. I'm not in control of this car at all. Oh, Jesus. Like that one might have been my fault. This thing is not easy to keep control over in the slightest. And back to the tier list. I will say for this car, I do really like the design of it. I think the livery is cool. I like the style. And I think that's really the saving grace of this car. But in terms of performance, it's very floaty. When it hits bumps, it kind of launches up and loses contact with the ground. And so it's very difficult to actually keep your grip when driving it. And so it's very difficult to get the hang of. And in terms of craftsmanship, it's obviously the first car I've had to actually go and put a camera in. It seems like it was missing a little bit of expertise when it comes to automation. I don't know, maybe I'm just making that up, but I think this car is very solidly in the B tier. All right, moving on to Daisolve's Miura ARC-580, ARC-580. And surprisingly, we've gotten very few like standard econo boxes turned rally cars. So it's pleasant to see another little hatch with a little bit too much power and no expectations. Okay, once again, for the sake of time, this car does compete in the 3-liter class, and it is legal. It meets all the requirements in terms of minimum weight, maximum tire width, and everything you need to see in the interior. And speaking of the interior, It's got a lot of just base plastic. It's pretty clear that this car was once an Econobox. Continuing to look around in the interior, we got what seems to be floating seats, which is pretty interesting. And also, if we go ahead and put ourselves in the headrest of the seat, we see that driver ergonomics are, again, just a little interesting. Very Italian, besides the fact that this is, I presume, a Japanese company. These square exhaust tips, again, another little interesting choice there. But overall, for a cheap Econobox turned rally car, I really can't hate on the design too much. I do believe Petronas switched to this color scheme in the 90s. That's just what I got off of a little Google search. And so, this being an 80s rally car, it's a little interesting on the livery. But, I see the vision, and I like it. My god, this thing is loud. It's not going to be loud for you guys, because I'll mess with it, but my god. At least it's quick. Oh, but it feels top heavy and does not want to slow down. God, it's another car in the saga of very floaty. Yeah, brakes. Brakes could use some work. Oh my god. Very top heavy, this car. My god, it's just so, bouncy. It does not want to stay on its tires. You gotta brake super early. And, oh my god, I was going 30. Oh, yep, even just bumping the road really unsettles this thing. Come on, come on. I know I screwed it up. I know I broke it. Oh, my wheel. Oh, my god. I'm going to give this one more try. Yep. As soon as the rear launches up. It's very... Just turn. Oh, my goodness. This thing has no authority on the front tires. It just kind of wanders. Oh, my god. Oh, my god. I had no control over that. I had no control. Oh my god, it hit a bump, the rear end lost contact with the ground, and I just lost the car immediately. This thing pains me. And it hurts my ears. Oh my god. Be prepared, guys. I'm gonna give you an actual audio clip of what this thing sounds like. Alright, honestly, I actually do kind of like the design of it. I like the philosophy. I like the effort that was put into the submission description. The effort put into how the car drives and how freaking loud it is. It just hurts me. I'm sorry. I can't. I'm sure it deserves higher, but I want to be done with this already. All right, now we're looking at Error's Peugeot Quasar. And I think the Peugeot execs might have mixed up their baking flour with a different kind of flour. Alright, we'll start off with the engine on this one. We got another car in the 2.5 liter class, because it does have a compound turbo setup. And I checked, according to wheels and weight, this car does qualify. And yeah, the fixtures, it does have the seats, it has the roll cage. And so it's interesting whether or not contemplating if the Group B regulations, or the FIA, whatever the governing body was, would actually let this thing race. But I think it's fun to assume that they would, given that, it meets all the other requirements, and it does have an enclosed canopy. So, we're going to let it slide. But looking into the design, I know this is meant to be some kind of Peugeot concept, and it looks like the Peugeot Lion got a little top-heavy. I could be crazy, but is this supposed to stand up a little bit more straight? And so I see these little vents here, not really quite sure what they go to, because they lead kind of the back of the cabin, just kind of into the wall here. Oh, hold on. Did they vent into the roll cage? Okay, well, interesting little vent there. The little vents here in front of the NACA ducts are interesting. They kind of clip onto the fender there. Not sure exactly what they're meant to do here. And also, looking at the paint here, we got purple carbon. if we actually go and look at the design of this thing, it's got fiberglass panels. Fiberglass panels that I guess are just painted purple carbon. You know, a little interesting there. And then this. I don't have words. You guys, the color scheme is it's unique. I will say the originality of this car is pretty strong. And then looking at the seats here, if you actually come up to the headrest, because this is where the shoulders go, so if you actually sit your head where you're supposed to, you are like in the roof of this thing. Like if you have a helmet, it's just clipping through the ceiling. It's a little interesting. Driver ergonomics are not a particular strong suit of this car. But, you know, it's got a pretty good level of detail. It's obviously a crazy design. I just want to see if this thing actually drives. You know, real quick, this was actually the camera intended for me to use. There's actually no cockpit cam. I added this one in later myself. So I think it's pretty clear that cockpit ergonomics were not a priority in this car. Oh my god. So we're driving it like this. Oh my god. Oh my fishtail. And this thing spools up immediately, incredibly fast. Oh my god. I've already pulled my wheel off my desk trying to control it. I've already pulled my wheel off my desk. I didn't bother to make the wheel move because clearly that was not the intent of this build. The effort was not spared there. It was entirely put into the engine. Which I believe the creator said this thing makes closer to 1,000 horsepower than it does 500. Which if that's true, that's ridiculous. I mean, you can feel it. This thing's fast. Too fast. This is kind of good though. So as soon as you lose the car, you hit the gas and you're just back at whatever speed you should have been at. Like as soon as cars reach a certain speed, I just lose the inherent ability to drive them. Oh my god, but on the tarmac it's fast. Very stiff. And hold it. There we go. A lot of turbo noise. I think it's like 25 PSI. Wow. Okay. Oh, is it a sequential? Oh, it is. I also have no idea what I was talking about with the PSI. It makes 65. Ridiculous. I don't even know how this thing was set up to where the turbo spools up immediately up to 65 freaking PSI. What is that? And also another little look at quality is a lot of people use this fixture here on the why do I keep hitting those on the dash with the switches, and when you hit the brakes they light up because by default they're set to the brake lights. So if people put a lot of effort into testing and going back in to automation and beam to look at things, they'll have turned that off. Honestly, with a bit more aero and a better suspension setup, this thing would be a insane track car. This thing should not have been designed for rally. It just does not belong here in the slightest. Obviously, oh my god, why do I keep turning in early? God. It's like chess. You have to think like 3 corners in advance. So you turn in early because you're going so fast, but I mean, it grips pretty well. Like it's got a lot of performance. But again, it's just I don't have the time to figure out how to extract it. Okay, looking at the Peugeot Quasar. Honestly, the craftsmanship is a little iffy. I think the concept is the most unique we'll see in this entire video. And it drives incredibly strong. It's so difficult to get the power out of it. And I think it's definitely in the B tier. Because I see it higher than a high C, and I see it lower than a low A. But I think I like it first here on B. Just, the style of it is not really the theme of this channel. But just for the engine alone, it's got to go there. And for you guys' sake, this is only part 1 to this video. Part 2 will be out soon with the rest of the builds. But first, let me know what I can do differently in the next video in terms of format-wise, in case you guys, want to see something different with the builds or want to have this, sped up a little bit. And secondly, I do have a Discord where I host these challenges every couple of months, and so feel free to join with the link in the description below. As always, while you're down there, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe. It lets me know that you guys like what I do, and I get to see the number go up. As always, let's see you in the next one.